Hello, Sandra.
Hello, Hendrik. Hello, everybody.
Let's begin with why we are here. Like why we are doing it. Like why we are doing podcast with here together, why we planned it. And I would need to give you a little backstory so you would see it the way as we are seeing it. So people have asked from me over the period of time, like, Hendrik, how does it feel to be a founder? You have family too, like 3 kids. You have been married like 12 years. Like,
How do you manage?
how do you manage? How do you do that? And
And your wife has a startup too. Oh, what a crazy couple.
yeah, like, how do you do it? And then I have had always like hard time to answer because it's like complicated to describe your own life and do it like really well and articulated manner. So we ended up discussing with Sandra and thought that, hey, let's just talk about it. And let's talk about it once properly to camera and get some inspiration by the questions we got from LinkedIn and Facebook. And
there are a lot of questions. We loved them from the first moment we saw them coming because it's also extremely important for us to define some topics and try to understand how to make it work even better. So I think let's go to the questions and try to share this experience, try to tell the story. And as it has been really 12, 13, actually it's almost 14 years together. And the first question from Marco was, where would you start to tell your full story? So it's a good question to start with. And the story goes back to Hendrik's childhood in Hiiumaa and my childhood in Tallinn, in Lasnamäe. And you were the entrepreneur already back then. So go ahead.
I started when I was 11 years old, and I noticed that my parents didn't have much money, but they still wanted to have ice cream and Coca-Cola. So I tried to find a solution for that. And I ended up like cutting and burning those kind of discs, small wooden discs. And
Juniper discs.
Juniper discs.
That smells so good.
Yes. And 3 kilometers from our home was Kõpu Lighthouse. And there was like tens of thousands of people coming to watch this tower every summer. So there was like young, blonde, 11 years old boy selling wooden juniper medals. Under that, I started in 93 doing it, and I did it over 5-6 years and earned decent amount of money. I would say I earned pretty much more than my parents did back in the days. So it was like best day I remember was 1,000 Estonian krone.
Wow,
crowns.
that's really a lot.
It was big money.
It was, and the same time I was hanging somewhere across the Tallinn city. My parents had more money, but they were saving a lot, so they wanted to get a better house or other stuff in life. So we as kids, we didn't get almost any pocket money. So all our classmates and friends, they had some money, and I was in a pretty similar situation. But I wasn't that smart those days, and I was just checking, like, just in front of our house there was those garbage trash bins, and we were excited to see what's there because one family moved out of apartments, 9 floors, over 200 apartments in the house where I was born and where I lived. And so, yeah, when somebody's moving out, a lot of exciting stuff is there around the garbage bins. And I found one Juniper disc, and there was Kupo and 1997 burnt. And my mother actually said, don't bring any stuff home, because me and my younger brother, we were excited when we find something somewhere, so we're bringing it home. And I quietly took this medal with me. I have never been to Hiiumaa before, so where should we start to tell this full story? I think this was like the first point of contact or some really like important moments in our life. So when we met 2000
lunch or dinner back in the days when our
started.
friend Katrin introduced us, then I told that I'm from Hiiumaa, and Sandra told
Oh,
yeah.
I had a Juniper disc from Hiiumaa, and Hendrik said, really? Do you know that I did it? So it was really a lovely start, and I haven't been to Hiiumaa before, so it was new for me, and I'm in love with the silence nowadays. And I think following from this introduction to each other, I think it was just 2 weeks from our first date when you suggested that you have made your decision, that you are the right one. And I was like, whoa, boy, let's wait. let's just learn to know each other better. And I was a bit scared. It was spring, right? And in the end of the summer, we did one exercise together. And this was something that came naturally. I don't remember if I have read it somewhere from the books. Definitely not. Otherwise, I would recon some books. So we just took a bottle of wine in the evening and took 2 pieces of paper. And so we just draw Hendrik and Sandra, our parents. So both parents and family models got some like characteristics. What's the background? Where are you coming from? So just to understand if our backgrounds match somehow. And then we pulled it together and wrote, I think, around 10 bullet points. What kind of family model and the future and life we want to create. What's my vision? What's yours? And then we realized that, okay, the background is pretty similar, where we come from. What are the values? I think those were the values. It was a long time ago. And then the next paper was for the action plan. What are the actions that you and me should be taking individually or together on a daily basis, weekly, half a year, once a year, to actually make this family work in the way that we have envisioned it. And I think this was the exercise where we realized that, it's like a business negotiating the terms. But at the same time, like, we talked about values, about like our daily life, how it looks like. What are your responsibilities? What are mine? What we must do? What is nice to do? And as a result, we got this action plan, and here we are, decade later. I think it's a good one, a good exercise to start with.
Yeah, we probably should repeat it time to time because we haven't looked at it for a long time, but we kind of remembered about it when we started preparing for this podcast. Like, hey, why? What could be the reasons why we are here decade later? Now, if we look back, and Sandra came up that maybe that exercise could help us.
Perhaps. I'm not sure where we would be without it, but just to align some of the like main topics, understandings, how we see the world, because we were together for around 6 months when Hendrik proposed, and we got engaged, and then 6 months later we had a bit more than 6 months, but around a year in total since we met to the wedding, and then to the first kid, and to startup life, and to all the rest in between. So this is where it all started pretty quickly and intensively, and I think we both are kind of people who are having very strong understanding that I have potential, I want to realize it, and you are here to help me, and you can support my dreams, my vision. And so probably it was like, hey dude, I think we match. Let's make some great things together.
So let's take the question.
The next one is from Peter. What were the lowest points in your relationship and how did you overcome them? From easy topics to complex and a few tough moments. There are not many, right? I think it's fair to say that there have been really a few very like challenging moments that could potentially destroy the relationship. But the first one was, to start with a funny one, a month later, after we met. So in the early days, I went to visit my grandparents. I was pretty happy about the fact that I met a guy and he seems a cool, good candidate. And I was telling for a couple of days, I were 3 days at my grandparents' place. And for the first 2 days, I was like, oh, it's so cool and nice and beautiful. And he's Hendrik and speaking about you. And then I realized that your phone is switched off and you're ignoring me, like totally ignoring me. And on the third day, I said to my grandparents, forget all the excitement there. I think it's not the one. And so it turned out you were taking part in, how do you call it, sailing?
We were doing this sailing regatta.
Yeah.
And I was on the sea and I forgot my charger to Tallinn. And some friend called a friend and then sent it via bus to Saaremaa, where we ended up sailing with multiple stops in between. So it kind of was like out of connection completely. Both ways. First, because battery was out, but also like on the sea, when you are quite far, there is no connection by the mobile phones, specifically on that region where you go. So,
and I think till today, Hendrik doesn't know my phone number, so he couldn't like ask a friend, "Hey, can I send a message from your phone?"
It kind of has been, yes.
So do you know my phone number?
I know elements of it.
Come on.
But no, I don't recall it at the moment. But to tell also about the low points. So when we talk low points in the relationship, then for me, low points of the relationship, like if I define what is the low for me, is like for me, relationship kind of overrates all the other things in life. So in that sense, I'm kind of like quite emotional person. So the low for me, like what I remember.
And who knows, Hendrik, he's not emotional person until it comes to some very personal questions between us two.
Maybe I don't show it that much, but in deep down, I sometimes feel emotional. And I remember when we had a strong argument and then I ended up sleeping in the office few years ago.
Yeah, and I remember why you slept in the office, because I didn't want you to come home. And the reason, it was once for one night. So I think that this conflict in there was for around 24 hours. And you exited your business. You sold it to Finnish partners. And they didn't ask for it, or it was like topic out of blue, where I was basically helping you to build your Facebook like fan club or page, and you just gave ownership. You just like said that I'm selling the company, but there was no discussions about this Facebook page. You just gave the ownership. You didn't even discuss it. And I was like, hey, dude, you are not asked to do it. Why? And I took it so personally, because I remember a few years I was just like helping to grow it. It was like my little baby. And I was excited about it. I was learning digital marketing back then. And yeah, how was it sleeping in office?
It was sad. It was sad. And it taught me. It taught me to become more aware about what you care about, and seeing the details and the things, or not details, but things, how you look things differently. And I think that it was worth it. So meaning like it was necessary to do this, to learn, because we are still like very different people from each other. We are seeing world very differently. So the things what Sandra sees as very important might not, I might not think about them that way, and other way around. So in that sense, having a good argument, having a good fight, having a good kind of like this kind of like open discussion about like, hey, this is really important to me. Why do you did that? Like, or why do you do that? This is, I think, very necessary in the long relationship.
Luckily, I don't recall any fights based on some values or some understandings, beliefs in life. So I think that at some point we see the world very in the same way, while being different.
We can cooperate, I would say.
Yeah, we can find the agreement or this like dot in between for most of the topics.
Not to confuse other people, I would say that we have had many fights. I wouldn't call them like a low points of the life, but there are some points where the stress over heats. For example, I still remember the States when we had like I came there to do the business, and Sandra was coming there, and
I was so desperate. You moved there because you already had a lot of action happening in Y Combinator, and it was all so exciting. And I came there, I followed you with our little kid, and basically I found myself managing life of a refugee who is trying to find place in a preschool for a kid, trying to find like opportunities for myself, all the starting from bank accounts to all the agreements for our home that we have rented. Like I was just like, it was so like out of blue. Like, I'm educated person, I don't handle it here. I don't know how the system works. And so we got the apartment totally empty, no furniture. So first decision, do you rent it or do you go to buy it? And so school for a kid, for the first week, I was going and making this cold door knocking on the preschools and trying to understand like how it works. And then I realized it doesn't work that way, that I go and knock and ask for the manager and have some nice talk. But I had to find out who are other fellow Estonians out there, how they got their kids into some preschool, and can we use the same path or same contact. So for me, it was like I was working in Estonia, focusing on my career, and then we moved to US.
And you kind of gave lot of away, but I wouldn't call it a low point. I would say that it was
No,
like
no,
this
definitely.
definitely big stress point. So basically, we will still come to talk about states later, but maybe we just take the next one.
Yeah, let's. We have there about states some more questions. Antti asked, "What other career paths would you possibly consider, and why does this intense sadomasochistic founder life feel so right for you?"
What career? Let's take the first question first. Like, what other career paths? I have been able to work kind of in the similar sector basically over the 2 decades. So I feel that I have built up significant amount of knowledge about the like one category of things, and that's why I would say that I would stick with entrepreneur's career. I would probably be able to navigate and do other things also in the frames of the same category, like financial services and products and time, putting those things somehow together.
You know, that's one of the things I really liked about you, is that you're so focused on one specific area. So I was just feeling that you're a stable person. So you can dive deep into something and you are still passionate about it for almost 20 years soon. So unlike myself, I've tried myself in different areas and trying to find like where is my real passion. But probably this is a good answer for this question, that you're deeply interested and passionate about your specific industry, and you know it so well, and you see the opportunities, you see the weaknesses of the system. And in my case, like I have been looking for what makes me happy and satisfied for many years, and I have found it recently. And this is what I've also been learning from you, that try to find what you love and stick to it, because you will be facing challenges in every industry or every company you work for, or any startup you're potentially about to start. So this is not the issue, but yeah, being really into something with full your, like all the energy you have. I think this is really important. And this intense sadomasochistic founder life, I've heard the quote that all the progress in the world belongs to sadomasochistic people, because this is where you're going out of your comfort zone, and this is where you try to invent something or reinvent something the way we have done things before. You see them differently, and you are bringing it into life. So I think it just has to feel right. And this is the answer for Antti's question, that there are no great alternatives or no other options, because you already have it, and you know why you're here, why are you doing your startup.
I have done a couple of times that kind of exercise on those hard moments, like when I don't know if I get this deal done or not, and I don't have like a other alternative to go or what to do, and all this hardship, all those kind of crazy moments in the past, what I've had, and I will have. I've always, not always, but mostly tried to do like this kind of exercise, like looking to the mirror. And Hendrik, would I actually prefer being on some other situation? Like, would I trade this hard moment to something more easy? And my choice has always been that no, I would not. And until I can say that, I'm 100% sure that the path is as it should be.
And some days when it's really tough because there are 3 little kids at home and some bad news or some really tough situations in our startups, sometimes in both of the startups, because when one is like lifted up and full of energy, it's easy to like load a little bit or provide this charging station. But also looking in the mirror and asking myself, 2 startups and 3 kids, like perhaps it's too much, or would you see yourself making different choices? My answer has been the same, that I'm absolutely happy with all those decisions, and I believe that we can handle them.
And something what I think that we haven't talked much, but I maybe would bring it out, is that the charge what children give you, the charge that our 4-year-old and 3-year-old and 5-year-old and 11-year-old are giving us. In both, in that sense, in the good mood when they have good mood, or in the bad mood when they have bad mood, this is helping to remind that in life we don't have one role. Like Hendrik is not founder alone. I'm founder certain percentage of the time in a day, in a weekly basis, etc. A certain percentage of the time I'm husband, certain percentage of the day I'm dad
Father,
or dad, yeah,
son,
a son to my
friend,
parents, friend,
brother.
brother. And when you think about this way, it helps to reduce the anxiety of things where they are not working out as you want to, because you usually fail only in one role temporarily, potentially. Like maybe you are not so good father, you try to improve it. So basically you try to spend more quality time, like being very intentional about the role who I am at the moment and trying to be present on this moment where I am. So I'm here in this podcast only because of the questions I've received over the period of time and also into this channel. So meaning like I'm here for that and I'm intentional. I'm not thinking about being a dad or founder or something else at the moment. And I think it's very important that you kind of like find this constant, like you think about where you are and what you actually should do now.
And
Not
this
wander around.
exercise has been probably the most impactful for me. I tend to overthink or like over prioritize one particular role, and while playing with kids, I'm often thinking about my startup thoughts and solving some issues. But for me, it has been something that is bringing me back to reality, that if I had a bad day or some bad news in my office today, I'm still needed and a valuable person in other roles. And those people don't care if I raised capital, if I got some new customers, if month-over-month growth was as it was promised or predicted. So they don't care about it. They want to see you in this role, and you want to see wife in the evening who is attractive and smiling and not desperate one. So probably the shift between the roles is something that helps a lot. And when I forget it, you remind me. It's like from the first moment Hendrik says, you haven't switched the roles. you're still at work because you're like worried about something that is happening within your startup right now. But you're at home in the kitchen and we're having a family time and it's our quality time. It's where we're charging ourselves. And it helps a lot, really.
I liked very much, you quoted it, Arnold Schwarzenegger quote quite multiple times, that nobody, like, be useful in your role to what is your role. So like I'm founder, so I need to make my customers like fulfill their needs. I need to fulfill the needs of a team and investors. I need to come home and fulfill the needs of the family, like find quality time with my wife and be a good husband, etc., and not to forget about my parents or brother and sister, and everybody need to get a piece of my attention, and I need to be useful for them. I need to be useful for the listeners here, so it's good to remember.
Yeah, exactly. The next question from Marco. What have been the biggest challenges you have faced in building your startups, and how have you navigated those obstacles? As for me, all the biggest challenges within my startup founder experience is related to human relations. So I think that this is what is the most emotional part, whether it's relations within the founders, relations with your first customers who are very important, with your investors. So I think if we are in the situations where we don't get well with anyone who is around us, the most important people, then I don't believe those startups fly high. So there should be a synergy between the people and the trust, and then we can find solutions. We're setting emotions aside, but if somebody is facing really like emotional challenges, sometimes it's your founder's like personal life or like health or something else. But I think that the human relations are the ones that are like the biggest challenges.
I would say one of the big challenges for me over the period of time has always been confidence. So confidence in that sense that like being ready to ask really hard and good questions, like the questions what really matter, and being very direct. So meaning like asking, my latest favorite has been all this strategic or tactical questions. So basically, are we here for the long term or are we here for the short term? And basically putting people like our customers or banking partners or strategic.
It's a great question to your strategic partners and customers.
For potential, because even if they are tactical, when they acknowledge it themselves, we can also work fruitfully together if this is the case. But in the nutshell, like asking hard questions has been hard for me. Other thing what I would bring out is expectations. Like in the startup, it is very hard to know what the tomorrow will look like. Because you kind of put a lot of effort in and you hope that this effort is kind of bringing fruits, because it's such a big effort. But usually these fruits are not coming as quickly as expected, but they tend to come a little bit later and maybe different shape and size that you expected. And putting this, like living this through, has like it takes a certain mindset.
Yeah, I agree with this. So effort and the return on your investment. So you're investing a lot of money, energy, resources of your team, of your investors. And what comes back is it's often like not good enough. So I think that when I look at Askly and our journey, for some people might seem like, guys, wow, you're still alive. You're doing great. For me, it's never enough. Never like I want more. It should be worth more. It should be done better or faster. So I think also, like as a founder, maybe you can manage it better, but the internal talk is like it's never enough. It's never good enough. So how you see your team performing, how you see your customers adopting your product. So at every point, there are so many like those small challenges. And my team is still very small, so there are a lot of tasks on my shoulders, starting from product development to customer support sometimes. And this is where I feel that that the way you navigate through all of those challenging points, we also come back to this like role, switching the roles, and just saying, okay, right now I'm in this particular role. So it's not just being a founder, but also like, are you the one who is supporting your team today, or are you the one who is taking care of the your balance, cash flow, and other areas? So also like switching the roles within your team, and you're diving into. I have done the exercise when I focus 1 week on one specific area. So we need to improve our customer acquisition flow. So I'm going for 1 week into one topic deeply and trying to like understand the details, where are the weaknesses, how to improve them, and then I forget about this topic and I go to the next one. And have you tried something similar?
About a month or 2 months ago, I founded a new habit. I'm that kind of person who tried to play with the habits time to time. So basically, I consistently look what I'm doing, and I'm changing this pattern. So, for example, I remember time when I decided that I want to wake up early. So I started waking up early. There was times when I switched out coffee completely, for example, for a year or something like that. Was funny thing. I started counting calories as a hobby last 2 years. So I went to gym and started doing it like 7 years ago or something. So if I find good thing, I can be crazy consistent, I would say. Because it kind of like calms me a little bit down if I know that I'm doing something and that's me. So I put this as a label to myself that this is me. I'm that kind of guy who's going to the gym and not doing it too heavily, not too lightly, but this kind of like balanced way. But when we talk about like work related habits, or even like overall life, so my latest achievement or like finding has been that I'm not using social media on the morning. I'm not browsing emails. I'm not doing that. I'm spending first few hours of the day thinking like, what is most important thing, what I need to do today, and then doing it. And like before noon, I'm pretty much not touching any social media, blogs, I would say even emails or everything. What is not, I even don't touch the burning things. So meaning like I'm not solving problems. I'm thinking what is the important thing, what I need to do. And those things might be like I'm trying to find those one which are not like urgent, but they are important.
You know, I would like to add one habit to our family routines, that when we come home, we're not throughout the evening checking Slack or some other work stuff. So this is something where we have a lot of progress to make. Yeah. So probably it's doable.
It should be doable. Other people probably are able to.
I don't know. We have to ask other founders.
But this is switching the role basically, and that is making ourselves as parents first actually. So we need to improve there for sure.
And I've been speaking at several conferences on this mom entrepreneur life and balancing it out. And I'm always, I've always thought that if kids are looking at mom and seeing that she's doing something that she enjoys, she's focused on self-development, she's curious, and she's fun and a good wife. So they, I'm not a good I'm not really spending much time teaching them or like even like not enough, really, definitely not enough of time of talking with kids one-on-one. Although we're trying to do it, but like 15 minutes per day with one kid, and that's it. But at least like what they see in action, the model of a mother, this has been always like one target for me. But back to the startup life, one more question from Marco. How do you prioritize building a strong team and company culture, and what qualities do you look for when hiring key team members? There are many different topics within one question. So company culture, I would say, is one key word. Like, how do you prioritize and approach it? And how do you prioritize and approach like key team members? How do you get the right people around you? How do you avoid those situations that I've mentioned before that are the main killers and reasons for failures, from my personal opinion?
So if we talk about company culture, and I think it little bit goes to the hiring too, because in the end of the day, you first need to have some people around you, because otherwise you would talk about your own culture. But what has been the biggest learning for me is readiness to ask hard questions, one, and actually like being conscious about like what has been my typical mistake. I've done it many times with various people who that's not their fault that I've done this mistake. But that's like I have had past in the co-founders, which it didn't end up well. And the reason being that I looked like I had a problem. Like, for example, I had a problem that I've grown out of Estonia and I want to actually go do business abroad, for example. And I have this problem. And now how do I solve this problem is like, hey, you here, you are the solution. Like I basically take a random guy and then put a label on his forehead in my eyes that, hey, you are the one solving this problem.
And we will start living together in the office from Monday to Friday and
all that. And I'm not concentrating actually listening. I'm concentrating thinking my own, like how do I kind of get my problem solved. And if my life would have been much easier if I would have been like doing it earlier. But currently what has been my learning is like talk less. Like I tend to talk too much. I need to listen more, ask more harder question. And what I'm doing currently is like, for example, we are hiring one person at the moment, and I did the interview I asked my co-founder we did it together, and then I asked other people to do it. So basically I have like multiple people talking with the same person and giving me this kind of like feedback, like how does it feel? And it's also important that you actually figure out in advance properly, like what this person will do, like how his like or hers day will look like pretty much like you put and you understand the work good enough that you can actually like imagine what kind of person would be good for this role.
I remember when I started building Gasclaim, we had a different name back then, and there were 3 developers in our founding team. 2 very experienced one. One Guido was my good friend for many years, so I knew him pretty well enough, and we have done things before together. And he invited 2 of his close partners. And so out of 3, 2 experienced ones in a time, it happened naturally, dropped off. And the one who was left was the most junior one, but he was hungry enough to learn, crazy enough to develop his skill set at a speed of light and to build basically everything that we have right now. And if you remember from Silicon Valley, was it Paul Buchheiter who said it, that the difference between good developer and bad developer is like 10,000 times.
50,000.
50,000 times. And so sometimes you need a little bit of luck when you're like starting something with the people, and you never know, like it's a long-term journey, 10 years. Like how will the person who are you starting with evolve throughout of those years and keep motivation high? Is he self-motivated enough? So we don't know it sometimes ourselves in the tough situations, right? So yeah, when building a team, sometimes it feels to me that people, the founding team who got together and have this great match and make some really remarkable achievements together, it's very hard to give a formula for it. I would have never like thought that the junior 1 out of 3, like the weakest one, however HR would have measured, he perhaps wouldn't be like just a good fit. But yeah, sometimes things happen, and call it luck.
I would call it's basically like either you have a passion or you don't have a passion. And to understand people is like in situation, because we talked about hiring, then from the hiring perspective, I would say that talking with more candidates and more listening is kind of good suggestion. And I always like, I'm little bit afraid on this kind of like, it haven't worked me well, like, hey, I know this person, he's really good in it, I need something like that, so let's hire him. I would always rather like have a role described and talk with multiple people. And also what I've done is like when I look somebody in some sector, then I am always calling to the people who I respect in this sector and who ask who you would recommend to talk with. Who would you hire if you would be in my shoes? And that has worked.
Very good question.
That has also worked for me. And now just to touch up on the company culture, because I think we didn't touch this topic. So I'm not sure that I'm actually like a very good role model of building a company culture, but some things I've noticed, because in Silicon Valley too, everybody talked about it, but it's untangible, like you can't touch it. It's like very hard question. And if somebody tells like, hey, that's how you do the good company culture, I would say that, yeah, I'm not buying it. So what I've noticed is that being as direct as possible. So if you have, and the bigger company gets it, harder it goes, because you have people who, like if you are a startup and you have like 2 founders and you kind of like go through everything together, and when you are out of money and you don't know what happens tomorrow and etc., you kind of like, you bought into it. When you end up having like a team of people like 10 or 20 or etc., who have like mortgages and kids and who are worried about their tomorrow, so you basically need to kind of like balance everything together. But being still as direct as possible, I would say, has worked quite well. And I also have learned that building some routines, like all hands meeting every week, is something which is like a must. Short, simple, and not too much. And yeah, basically be direct and do
adding,
all hands meetings.
yes, and adding those leadership principles and mission statements, it's always a good start for all hands meetings to remind ourselves, why are we here? What's the real reason? It's not to pay the mortgage, as I would approach the company culture, but it's to make some great things happen together. And if the mission is something that that your team finds that it's relevant for them, for their values, I think it's easier to build a company culture upon of those like values. As answering the questions and having this discussion has already lasted over 2 hours, then we have decided to split it into 2 podcasts.
Maybe 3.
Probably, yeah, we don't know yet how long it takes, but we will finish for this time, and the next episode will be available somewhere in the same place. So go and check the second one, and there are so many exciting questions and topics that we will cover in the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you.